Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So little did we know, hidden in plain sight for over 2 years existed one of the greatest treasure troves of content to have ever existed. So today we're going to look at this massive, over 100-part thread giving do's and don'ts and related tips about role-playing on the internet. It contains some of the most unhinged and crazy Twitter freak-like tips you will ever see. Now you're probably asking yourself, Rev, how did we get here? How did we get to this nearly 2.5-year-old thread? What does this have to do with anything? How did you notice this? Well, it all scales back to our favorite shark, Gawr Gura, because the thread and one of its recent tips talked about Gawr Gura. And I have to say the headcanon it is imposing upon Gawr Gura and her fans is one of the most unique I have seen in quite some time, and that is really saying something. So when Gawr Gura said, "What are you scared of, a little 4-letter word?" maybe she wasn't referring to lolly. Perhaps it was Nazi, because that's exactly what she's being accused of promoting with her content, at least according to tip number 117 of that thread I just mentioned. So let's read through what this Twitter freak had to say about Gawr Gura and VTubers in general. So the advice number 117, don't lewd VTubers. There's real people behind these models, and in some cases, like with fascist symbol Gawr Gura, they have a childlike body that encourages pedophilia. And as stated, some of them spread hateful ideals indirectly like this. So to address that first part of this schizo thread, when it comes to the large VTubers like Gawr Gura, there are plenty of accounts that roleplay as them. Okay, and I think 99% of those creators are okay with people roleplaying as them, as long as it's clear that they're not trying to impersonate them, where it's clear that this is a LARP account. I think that's very common on Twitter, and I think most VTubers are fine with that under those circumstances. But the main point of this whole thread is calling Gawr Gura a fascist symbol. Now, I've seen a lot of schizo, crazy theories about Gawr Gura, but I've never seen anyone accuse her of being a fascist symbol. And of course, this all relates back to her childlike body that encourages pedophilia based on her lolly VTuber model. And they say that, of course, with no proof or studies to back any of that. And then going on to say that she is spreading, or other VTubers as well, are spreading hateful ideals indirectly by basically just existing. Well, a lot of people were pressing this original poster by saying, well, Gawr Gura being a fascist, I call BS on that. Where the tip enthusiast, the roleplay tip enthusiast, provided a further explanation that is equally as crazy, saying, Gawr Gura herself isn't a fascist, but she, like the swastika and Pepe the Frog, racist and neo-Nazis have used her image and claimed her as a symbol of hate, especially if you look on this site or 4chan. Ooh, scary 4chan. Okay, so the idea of comparing Gawr Gura to a swastika and Pepe the Frog is a comparison that is only made by someone who is very terminally online. Also, having problems with things like Pepe the Frog, that is a first world problem, and you need to log off of the internet for a very long time and not just touch grass, but roll around in a meadow or something, because you have some serious issues going on. But yes, apparently they're saying that racists have appropriated Gawr Gura to the point where she is simply a fascist symbol at this point. She's not even human. She is simply existing as this symbol of hatred. Well, of course, users point out the flaws with that argument, basically saying if you allow people, a small number of people, to appropriate something or a symbol or a person, you're going to run out of things that you can actually use, because everything will be hateful. Allow these hateful people to appropriate everything if they so choose. As long as people are going to basically label something as a symbol of fascists, if only a few of them try to claim it, right? But they reply to all those concerns by saying, hateful bigots permanently claim a symbol or icon and use it for hate. Nazis used it for swastikas, and those are permanently changed. The same thing happened with Pepe the Frog. The same thing is happening to Gura. This is one of those rare moments where I really just don't have anything to say. I'm just kind of at a loss for words. And anyone who thinks that these things are a rational stream of thought, you're not in the best place. But like I said, this uncovered a treasure trove of content, because that was tip number 117 or whatever out of a much longer thread that is right here. Posted originally on April 11th. I originally thought maybe this was just some elaborate joke where someone did a big copy pasta, but no. This user has been regularly uploading and posting new tips for 2.5 years at a pretty consistent rate, leading up to the most recent ones like the Gawr Gura one we just looked at. So I gave this a quick scan, and it is unbelievable. There's not a single thing that is said out of all of those hundreds of tips that can be considered normal or well-adjusted. So for the purposes of this video, I just want to give the highlights, you know, the best little compilation of the most unhinged takes from this thread, because man, they are pretty funny. So again, this is a role-playing tips thread. Okay, just keep that in mind in case you get lost. Remind yourself where you are. So advice number 27. All role plays are inherently political. Don't let those massive onions get you when they say there shouldn't be politics in role play. Every type of role play are considered inherently political. Some are more left-leaning and some are more right-leaning. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, role playing is always political. If you're role playing as a sexy anime girl, I'm sorry to tell you this, but that was a political statement, and you will be held accountable, okay? Just so you know, tip of the iceberg here. It's gonna get a lot worse. Advice number 90. Silence is not an option. If you see drama going on and you don't speak up about it or ignore it, then it clearly says something about you as a person. You must speak up about it, even if it's briefly. Otherwise, your silence shows your side. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, silence is violence in the role-playing community. Yeah, it's just like amazing. Imagine all these like people like LARPing as anime characters, having to break character to talk about political issues. Again, this is something we see a lot of Twitter freaks say, like silence is violence. You must speak up on political things going on in the world and social issues. Well, if you did that, you would never stop talking, because there's millions of social and political issues going on throughout the world. It's just Twitter focuses on the most talked about recent ones, and they say this whole silence is not an option thing, that you have a duty as a content creator to speak up. Well, guess what? If you did that, you would never be able to post content, because there's a million things going on in the world. And you know what? People come for, they go to spaces like Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all these things, and LARP accounts and role-playing accounts for escapism, to get away from these things. And I don't think that's exactly a very hard thing to understand. But advice number 15. It is okay to turn a straight character gay, but not the other way around. This is because the LGBT needs representation so bad that they need all they can get. There is an abundance of straight characters, so there's no fear if we take one of them and make them gay. That sounds... I don't know if I can say the G word on YouTube anymore. That's kind of what it's sounding like at this point. But yeah, of course, no self-awareness, complete hypocrisy. I guess you can turn straight characters gay, but the other way, no. Also, have you ever discovered like the Yuri and Yaoi tags? I don't think there's any shortage of LGBT representation in fiction. Like, come on. People make plenty of artwork and role plays and fiction based on that stuff. There's no shortage in those areas of the internet. Advice number 19 to, I guess, WoW roleplay, Dungeons and Dragons, and something else. I don't know what that stands for. Genshin Impact. This is for you. If you have to roleplay as orcs, goblins, helichurls, respectively, do not write them to a T. They're considered offensive stereotypes to Africans, Jewish people, and Native Americans, respectively. Make it friendly. Yes, I'm combating racism by looking at an orc from World of Warcraft and immediately thinking of black people. Yeah, I think there's only one potential racist in this situation, and it's the people seeing real life people, whether it's a race or the religion, when they look at fictional characters, and in particular, orcs and goblins. I think anyone making that connection, and unironically, it's people like this, they're the ones making the problematic connections here, right? Advice number 53. Rival and villain to hero ships are disgusting and immoral. Shipping clear rivals who hate each other or shipping a hero and a villain together is basically promoting and romanticizing abuse. Do not do it at all. Wow. Shipping rivals together is literally romanticizing abuse. That's crazy. Imagine two characters who have tension between each other because of differing views or a rivalry or something like that. I got news for you. That is probably one of the favorite LARPs and role-playing aspects and dynamics that is out there. People love that stuff, and for a good reason. But moving on from this, advice number 17, do not roleplay as abusers at all, even if it's canon. Sorry, Homer Simpson, Joker, and Endeavor fans. This just means you are likely to trigger someone's trauma or shows you are willing to hurt your child or spouse in the future. That's how it is. Imagine role-playing as Homer Simpson and someone is going to make a claim based on that it shows you're willing to hurt your child or spouse in real life. That is absolutely insane, but not surprising for people who don't understand how to separate fiction from reality. Advice number 12. Do not roleplay as another race if you are not them. Sorry, people who love to roleplay as CJ or Franklin. Unless you're black, you shouldn't roleplay as them. It's disrespectful. Same with people who roleplay as Native American characters or Latino. Unless you're one of them, don't do it. Like, do I have to pull out like an Ancestry.com test to like verify that I'm allowed to play a certain race? Is there a certain bar? Like, do we need a certain percentage of that ethnicity of the fictional character to match up to us in real life? I don't know. Seems like a bit of a difficult standard, and also just doesn't make any sense because we're role-playing fictional characters, and race when it comes to role-playing fictional characters shouldn't matter at absolutely all. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. Advice number 41. Always block pro shippers. We see what this is all about now, huh? A pro shipper is someone who ships everything, including adults with literal children. They're willing to break CP laws because of a fictional ship. You can safely block them if you see them. Their actions harm real people. I would love to see a source for that. Also, breaking CP laws because of a fictional ship. I don't think that really adds up, but you know what? This is the tip expert. I'm just going to have to take their word on it. Block all those pro shippers. Block all those nasty pro shippers who understand that relationships and relationship dynamics between fictional characters do not represent real life relationships or have an impact on real people. Make sure you block them. They are very dangerous. They're free thinkers. Advice number 120. Be mindful of age gaps when doing romance or lewd RPs. Even if they are legal adults, an 18-year-old romancing or lewding a 30-year-old is socially unacceptable. The best age gap length is 1 to 4 years. Bazinga, wow. Hachi-cha. 1 to 4 years on your roleplay LARP here. Like, maybe this person, well, of course, if their parents are still around, they should ask their parents what their age gap is, because likely it's not 1 to 4 years. It's probably something greater than that. But nonetheless, keep that in mind out there, guys. Even if these characters are 60 years old, make sure they're 1 to 4 years apart. Otherwise, you're really getting into some dangerous territories. You might do something that hurts these literal adult fictional children. Advice number 92. Avoid the 1,000-year-old dragon trope. Do not make OCs who fall under this trope. It's inherently pedophilic, and it attracts creeps. It gives people the wrong idea of you, It makes people disgusted by you. Make your OC look their age. What? Make your fictional character look their age. First of all, this is of course laced in body shaming. Like, imagine if this person saw a petite woman in real life. I'm sure they would get angry and tell them to start looking their age and that they're unlovable because of it. But yeah, this whole idea of like having to make sure your OC matches up with an age is totally normal. I'm getting brain damage, guys. I'm sorry. My brain is literally rotting as I keep going deeper into this thread. And like I said, I only got the highlights, okay? I only got the highlights. There is well over 100 of these. Advice number 85. Do not use a lot of anime tropes. The truth comes out, huh? Especially if you want to build a strong character. An anime aesthetic is fine. It's just anime tropes are naturally more sexist, sexual, problematic, and immature. It doesn't make good characters. It makes terrible ones. I think I spotted the person who hates anime. Also, borderline xenophobic here as well, of course. But yeah, apparently all anime tropes just make you immature and problematic. And not only does it make bad characters, it makes terrible ones. Yeah, we get it. You don't like anime. Advice number 38. It doesn't matter if a character has a vague age. If they look or act like a child, they are probably a child. I would imagine they apply this to real life people as well. This is to those weird anime and video games that get away with fan service by omitting the ages of clearly minor characters. Do not go down that route. Yeah, if I catch you guys doing that, you're banned for life. You're not allowed on this channel. Yeah, what is a vague age, by the way? How does something have a vague age? Are they saying like, oh, the character's between the ages of 12 and 50? Like, what? Yeah, that's the problem. We're allowing people like this to dictate what age a fictional character looks like, and then they're going to judge you based on that. And by judge you, I mean call you a thing like a pedophile, for example. That's why we have so many crazy people on Twitter. It's because of this thought process that is way too common. Don't let this thread fool you with the 2 likes, okay? And the 41 quote retweets. This is a very popular sentiment and thought process. Advice number 61. Buy some history or mythology books before role-playing as a real figure or a figure from mythos. Once again, I'm looking at you, Fate roleplay. Inaccuracies and liberties are best reserved for regular video game and anime characters. It's offensive otherwise. You know what? I'm gonna say no to that. And when I'm looking at Fate characters like Leonardo da Vinci, I'm going to just appreciate the fat ass they put on the female version of this historical figure. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I'm not going to buy a history book so I can look at historical characters turned into sexy anime characters, okay? And nobody else is going to do that. Advice number 82. Looting undead characters is wrong. It is basically necrophilia, and writing such promotes it. It's disgusting, and it makes people uncomfortable. Fictional or real, sex with a corpse is one of the nastiest things you can do. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Don't fantasize about that undead character, because if you do, you are promoting a literal necrophilia. I haven't seen this take very much, but wow, it's really glaring. And that, man, if you guys notice the ratio on some of these 3 likes, 81 quotes, it does give me a little bit of hope. It does give me a little bit of hope. Advice number 9. A sex-positive character is not good writing. So you are writing a character who has a lot of sex or has a very lax opinion on it. That is basically lazy writing for quick sex and is not a real thing. Humans being sex obsessed is a myth and poor writing. Dude, I swear to God, it's these people who are like super progressive who are the most backwards individuals. Like, this person would fit in really well in like the 1920s. Like, man, like they are terrified of sexual themes. At this point, like, what can you roleplay as? Like a box or something that doesn't talk or have opinions or sexuality or anything just sits there and it exists. Because I'm pretty sure doing anything, including breathing, would be a tip that they would advise against in this thread. Advice number 91. Sexual content does not make good storytelling. Smut is naturally there for fan service and sex. It's not a good tool for storytelling. If anything, it makes your writing look cheap and plain if you try to have a storyline that is sexual or related to sex. My God. It's all making sense. They are absolutely terrified of some anime titties. This whole person's world would come crumbling down if they saw a simple pair of jiggling, soft hunkabalunkas from an anime character. Advice number 45. A relationship is more than just sex and nudity. You don't need to be sexual in a relationship. If anything, sex can be utterly hinder a relationship due to HIV, STDs, trauma, and unplanned pregnancy. Are we talking about role-playing as fictional characters on Twitter? What are we talking about sexually transmitted diseases for? Like, you know what? The first actually true thing they've ever said was this first sentence. A relationship is more than just sex and nudity. And then, of course, they drop the bomb and go absolutely schizo mode. But moving on, perhaps the final advice tip we're going to look at today. Advice number 48. Don't lose yourself, OCs. It doesn't matter if they're a fictionalized version of yourself. It is still you in the end and can be damaging to you if you do lewd role plays with them and it makes people uncomfortable. Don't do that. Stop being sexual, guys. Stop doing what you want with your OC, you dirty bird. This is the most unhinged thread I've ever seen. Like, nothing's off limits, including your OC. You can't do anything. I think this person doesn't understand what roleplay is. I'm not a person who cares about roleplay or any of these things, but my God, this thread is just complete garbanzo. Like, I've never seen so much effort put into being so wrong about everything. There is not a single positive tip or a respectable tip out of the hundreds contained in this thread, and it truly is mind-boggling. So thanks to the people making fun of the Gawr Gura tip, because you brought my attention to this gold mine of content, and I hope you guys enjoy. Maybe you'll learn a couple tips and tricks along the way you can use for your roleplay adventures, but that's going to do it for this video. Please let me know all of your thoughts about today's interesting content in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.